Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing? KBT family. I'm Blake Knight. Y'all know who it is. Guys, got a good show for you tonight. The 8 house has been finished. We know who's going. Man, this weekend, absolute hammerfest. Saw a lot of big fish caught. Saw a ton of guys grind it out. Saw a lot of close matchups. Hats off to all the anglers there. I was thoroughly impressed with everyone's performance. You know, everybody got out there and did what they did and represented their states well, their sponsors well. They It was an awesome job. So congratulations to the anglers that advanced. For those that didn't, my heart goes out to you, man. I know how much that hurts to lose, and as a competitive guy myself, not a fan of that. Guys, the show tonight, it's always brought to you by our wonderful sponsors at Motor Guide, Ray's Eyewear, Eford Outdoors, Tourney Tag, Kayak Angler Solutions, Amped Outdoors, Westbrook Supply Co. You guys can get more of us on content, social stuff at Instagram is KBBT Fishing, YouTube Bass Bracket Tour. If you are watching, hit that subscribe button. Huge help. And then on our website at bassbracket.com, you can renew membership there for upcoming tournaments. That helps us put out more content, ups the pot for the anglers. All that stuff is fantastic. Got a lot of stuff on there on sale right now. Please go check it out. So, we're watching. It started when we started doing the bracket picks, round of 64. And I saw a bunch of guys on the list from Maine, and I've never fished in Maine. I don't know if Maine has. I thought they had like smallmouth, and they were like, "Oh no, these guys are going to be catching big largemouth." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's Maine. Like, can they? You think they're going to like compete with some of these other regions?" And they're like, "Wait and see, wait and see." Day one of the bracket, we're watching, and a guy from Maine is leading all anglers with 102.5 at the time. Absolutely insane. And I was like, man, who is this guy? And they were like, it's the Maine man, Tim Spry. Tim, welcome to the show, my man.
Doing
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing?
great, actually. Just trying to recoup from the 20 hours of fishing, which was pretty tough, and it actually wore me out. I think I have taken I don't know 6 or 7 naps since Sunday.
Yeah, sure,
So
man.
I've been resting up.
Yeah, 20 hours is a grind. 20 hours is a grind.
Yeah,
And that's casual fishing, competition fishing, anything, man. That's a lot of time on the water.
yeah, it was, and I just I mean, at first, it was kind of a disappointment, but at the same time, I mean, I'm actually happy. You know what I mean? Because I was at first, I was like, well, I got mad, okay, and I'm like, I don't know. I googled him, and I was like, wow, he's a good fisherman.
Well,
I
Well,
said,
Tim, just
and
hold on a second before you jump too far down that rabbit hole. For those that don't know, the story is Tim took out an absolute hammer in round one with Matt Conant, very 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 accomplished angler. Then in round two, you had who'd you have
Tim
round two, Tim?
Gurley,
Tim Gurley out of
Tim
Iowa.
Gurley.
Tim Gurley out of Iowa. The Tim on Tim matchup, and you took him down. And then you came up against the buzzsaw John Warchol.
Yeah, yeah, and we
And
battled it out all day long.
yeah, you did. Yeah, y'all did. Okay, so now go ahead. So Warchol takes you down. You Google him and you're like, oh man, John Warchol is
Yeah, I I mean, I've seen him in the brackets before. You know what I mean, with his name up there, and I was like, yeah, he's a good angler. And I just, you know what I mean, in my mind, I just focused on me. You know what I mean? Me and the lake. You know what I mean? What I know and what I can do possibly. And I know I needed probably 95 inches. That was my goal. And I almost met 95 inches. If I would have met my goal, I would be in the 8 house right now. But I was only off by an inch. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was y'all had a crazy tight battle. You came on live with us. You caught some great fish on live, but when you got on there with us, you told us that you had dumped a couple or had some unlucky breaks and bringing them into the boat.
Yeah. So yeah, because it started out early. I caught I think a 20 and a quarter or something like that. I mean, a nice size fish. And then right after, I must have lost 18, 19 inch right at the boat. I mean, it came up out of the water, did the tail flap, laid there for probably 1, 2 seconds, and then it
Mhm.
finally darted down. And I got a little disappointed there, but I'm like, it's early. I know there's a lot more big fish in this lake. I've seen them. I mean, I fished bass tournaments and 60 bass boats, and I mean they're pulling out 3 pounds to 8 pounds, 400 something bass, which is
Wow.
a my lake. I mean, could produce a lot of fish.
Yeah, no kidding, man. So is that how you got started in fishing? Is in the
No,
bass boat world?
yeah, I did. So I mean, well, I originally was from Florida. That's where I moved.
Oh.
Maine when I was 12. So I used to do a lot of, dock fishing and shoreline fishing as a kid.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So every pond or whatever I could sneak into, and different complexes and apartment buildings, and I would fish them. And then we moved to Maine. I actually moved to a small pond. We lived in a camp for the first pretty much summer, and it was called Nahumcag. And the bass there, I mean, they're giants, but literally you could catch them with a bread ball. You know what I mean? They don't see a lot of people. You know,
Mhm.
it's definitely when we have some friends that come up and they just want to fish that. They don't even want to go to any of the lakes because they catch giants. We're talking giants.
Okay.
And so, a few years passed on. You know what I mean? I kind of fished here and there, nothing. You know what I mean? So we're talking, 10, 12 years didn't really fish. So then I ended up buying a small um, um, bass boat. I mean, it was a 25 horse. Then me and my buddy would go fishing during the summer, and we'd catch 1 or 2 fish. Thought it was awesome. Thought we were good. We didn't even know what a bait. So it was all spin cast rods. Cheap stuff, and throw the same thing. And then as progressed, I ended up buying a Triton 19 foot with a 100 and something 15 horsepower motor, and so I was like, maybe I'll get into the bass tournament world, and
Mhm.
try it. So I ended up talking to this guy on the lake. His name was Joe Holland. He fished some of the series, you know what I mean? Some of the trying to get into the bigger deal, but he did well a couple years, and so he kind of talked to me and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, there's a tournament on China Lake." So this is where how China Lake got involved in my life, and so I asked my brother if he'd want to fish with me as a partner. We're going up against 50, 60 boats. These guys don't even want to talk to you. You know what I mean?
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? They have 80,000. And I was a little discouraged. You know, and so I
Mhm.
fished the tournament, fished all day. It was a 7 fish limit. We bring back one fish, 14 inches.
My
It
man.
was super discouraging. You know what I mean? I was like, how do these people catch these fish? I have
Mhm.
no clue how they catch these fish. These are giants. And so, I mean, I'm very competitive. I play college soccer and every sport you can play. And
Where'd you play at?
so I played at Thomas College and the University of Maine.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was super competitive, and I can't stand to get beat. So I'll do anything I can to try to get to that point where these guys are. So I joined a local bass club, MBB. A lot of good anglers, and Corey Bose. He's part, you know what I mean. He runs it, and then he runs our man versus bass too, which is, they get 50 to 60 boats, per tournament, and it's a big league, and they have championships. And so I end up joining that, and I fish club, and I end up fishing man versus bass. And, I did okay. I'd finish, 60 boats, 30, 20,
Sure.
somewhere in the, it was, I still couldn't figure out, how, how to catch these fish, because in Maine, you got real deep water and you got shallow water. If the shallow bite's not on, you got to learn how to fish deep.
Right.
And that's one of the challenges I've always had, is trying to figure out how to catch these fish deep. You know, so I did a lot of research. Watched tons of videos. I watched people fish. And so that was my first year, and then so I've been fishing bass boats for, this will be my fourth year, and
Hmm.
then and so I joined. Then we end up joining Fishers of Men, which is a really good organization for bass boats, and so I started fishing that, and I made regionals.
Nice.
And did good. I came in second place in tournaments. I was gaining. I was slowly
Yeah.
gaining knowledge. How to fish jigs, how to fish this, how to switch baits, not to switch too much. Learn about, wind, and how the fish react, and how fish move. And so I started figuring some of this stuff out, and um, so then COVID happened,
Right.
and like, oh well, all these bass tournaments are gonna be shut down. Now we have all, and my brother was like, well, we can fish kayaks. And I'm like, kayaks? I have to paddle to fish? That's hard. He's like, no, you could actually get a pedal on, or a motor on. I'm like, you can. So I started researching it, and this was last year, and so I end up buying a Old Town MK 106.
Okay.
So I started fishing some of the online stuff, through KBAM. It was a small club, probably 12, 15 anglers, and so I started fishing some online ones, and I was doing well. And I was like, wow, this is fun. Kayak fishing is actually fun. You know what I mean? By myself, I don't have to find a partner. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I carry 7 boxes of lures. You know what I mean? I try to pick what I really going to use and stay focused on that. And I'm
Hmm.
like, and then I started thinking more about it, and then so then I joined a club, Maniac Anglers, which they had probably at the time, 25, 30, anglers that fish live events. So I think, and KBAM had one live event last year, and it was the first one. It was on Sebastopol Lake. I fished it. I won.
Nice.
So I'm like, wow, I'm winning. Wow,
Uh-huh.
win in a kayak? There's no way. I can't win in a bass boat for some reason. I get close, but I can win in a kayak. I was like, what's the difference? What am I doing different? You know what I mean? And I started
Hmm.
thinking, like, I fish slower. I concentrate more. I think about the environment around me, how the fish, you know what I mean? It feels like when I'm in a kayak, I feel like I'm a fish in a way. You know what I mean? I start
Yeah.
I start to think about their habitat and how I'm, how I would react if I were them. And it just that got me closer to thinking about, um, how to fish. So I fished a bunch of tournaments. They must have had 6 or 7 tournaments last year, live events, and we had a championship, which I kind of sucked there. We fished a really bad hard lake. It was
Hmm.
Arrowhead. They fished last week, and I said no, I'm not going to get 95 inches there, so I'm not fishing that lake. So because I could have fished live and did that, which would have been a super challenge. So I end up fishing that out and fishing a bunch of Rona and some KBF online stuff, and I end up getting Rookie of the Year. So
Nice.
yeah, so I was pretty excited about that, and for Maniac Anglers, and so it's been a great experience. And I fished a couple of year events last year. I fished. I think I made it. I don't know. I think I made. Um, I missed this 16th round by like quarter of an inch, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was topic. And then I fished the partners or team event with my brother, and I think we finished in 38th out of 64 or whatever it was. So, and then So how I got involved. So I kind of this year I end up signing up for KBAM. I've been doing the monthly. I've been doing your KBBT. I mean, I mean, I don't even want to use my bass boat, to be honest with you.
Man, it is so crazy, thinking about. I fished in bass boats with my uncle growing up a little bit, and man, we'd run all around the lake and catch, like 5 fish all day. And now in my kayak, I maybe go like 2 miles from the ramp and you
Catch
know
all, yeah,
put up
yeah,
20 pounds in a kayak. Like, it really gets you thinking, like, what am I doing wrong in the boat? And it's something that, when I watch pros now on the Elite Series or whatever, I mean, their boat positioning, and it matters so much. I mean, the kayak, I don't know how many fish in a kayak I've caught less than 3 feet from my kayak.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
um, we don't have to worry about things like that. It really, like you, the way you put it was great. You're like in the habitat. You're so quiet in the kayak that you can almost get right on top of them sometimes and still catch them. Maybe not in that super clear water, but a lot of times you can. So
Yeah, I mean, it just made a difference. I think last year my bass boat, I think I fished only 4 times. So
yeah, man. When I saw you were fishing up in Maine, I was expecting jerk bait, bottom hopping an LV 500, like crawling a swim bait on bottom, and then you come on live and freaking throwing a jackhammer.
yeah, so you know what I mean. I mean, before, I mean, most of the time I would throw. I mean, I literally started probably throwing a jerk bait. You know what I mean? And I'd get
Hmm.
those, but they weren't really big bites. I'd get a lot of the small fish reacting to it. 15, 16 inches,
Hmm.
which is okay. You know what I mean? If they add up, but not to compete in this league. I mean, I would throw some jigs. I would make my own jigs. I started doing that at one point, and making my own square bill, painting them and everything. And so I was doing my own stuff, and I was catching fish on them. And I mean, I threw Texas rigs, what I mean, worms. I mean, I would throw a little bit of everything. But and then I fished well, it was a championship event, a bass boat, and the guy that I was fishing with, he was a co-angler, so he was fishing against other co-anglers, and he was throwing a jackhammer. And I was like, "What is that?" He goes, "This is the best bait there is." And I'm like, "Really?" So
Hmm.
pretty much at that, I was in the tournament, and I didn't have a chance to get it back into it. And so I said, "Look, I'm just gonna watch you fish." I was like, I'm gonna get you so you can win the co-angler. I said, I'll take you anywhere. I'm gonna watch you. And I brought him everywhere, and he just threw that jackhammer like it was nothing. And he was just slapping them. And I was like, wow,
Hmm.
I gotta buy those. I'm like, so I look them up. I'm like, $15. Wow, those get expensive. So then I started throwing them. I threw them a little bit last year. I mean, honestly, I threw a Ned a lot last year. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd catch 90 fish, but they were 10 inches, 12 inches, 14 inches. I'd rarely catch, 5, 6 pounders. So I'm like,
Hmm.
I gotta do something different. I'm batter baits. I'm gonna throw swim baits. I'm gonna throw something that's gonna get a bigger bite. So, and that was my goal at the end of the year and beginning of this year, and it seems to be working now. So
Yeah, man, it's
that's
working
I
great
mean
for
that's
you. I
why.
mean that
Hmm.
you put up
I
100
mean,
inches, man. I mean, obviously you're doing something that's working there. I mean, there's there's no disputing when you're getting in the 90s regularly in Maine and then putting up 100 that you've overcome. I think what plagues so many tournament anglers is it's hard when you're catching a ton of them. I mean, we have that here in Texas with a wacky worm. Like, yeah, you can get big bites and you might stick a 20, but your other ones, you're going to be like 12, 14, this, that, and the other. And there are just certain baits that draw those huge bites. I don't know what it is, but it sounds like you got it figured out, man.
Yeah, because I sat before this even started. I analyzed all my photos because they're all time stamped. From last year, and I just looked at the size of them, and I'm like, you need to be 5 or 6 inches bigger. You know what I mean? You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to overcome this fear of not catching fish. You know what I mean? That's the fear is getting there, getting out there, and you're not catching fish. But when you do catch a fish, it's what you want. The size,
Right.
there. And it happened. You know what I mean? I pre-fished a few days, and I didn't want to burn out, the lake, but it's a huge lake, but so I fished a few days, and I would put up 90 inches, and I was like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I can't go back to. Literally, I threw a Ned. I think 5 casts.
Right.
That was. I think it was when I was fishing against Tim Gurley, and I think I saw him put up, like 30 inches or something. And I'm like, oh boy. So I'm like, I can't get a bite. So I threw a net a couple times. I popped a 12 and a half and a 14 and a half. And I was like, nah, okay, I got my confidence back. I can catch fish. I started thinking, okay, I can't catch fish. So I'm like, I'm putting that rod down. So I put it back and I said, no, I'm not touching it the rest of the day. I'm going big or going home. And which I went big to stay, not go home. So
Mm-hmm.
difference. So yeah,
Yeah, man. I was also really intrigued because like when I fish rock, I'm generally reaching for a crankbait or a jig or a shaky head, and if I'm around grass, that's or dock piling stuff like that. That's generally what I'm reaching for that chatterbait. I mean, it's like, especially grass, but you're fishing rock points, right?
yeah. But I wasn't fishing I was fishing the end of the rock points or the sides of the rock points, depending on where the wind was blowing. I was either fishing the back side of it, letting the bait go over the top, and they were just hanging out there for some reason. They were just sitting there. I would see them. You know what I mean? I caught one online, that one, and then I lost him at first. I said, "Look, he's sitting there at the bottom," and he was. And that one was sitting on. It went from 5 feet and dropped to probably 10 or 12, and he was
Mm-hmm.
just sitting right on that edge of that ledge. You know what I mean? So the bait must have been running across in the shallow, and he would or right through that channel, and he was just they were picking them off, and so that's what I was doing. I would throw over some rock points here and there, but I was fishing right off of them. So right where the grass, right where pretty much they meet grass. China's actually a lot of grass. In the summer it gets really, really thick. Right now, it hasn't grown up as much because it's early in the year. But they were sitting on that transition. So
Yeah, man. That I was
yeah,
just
uh,
amazed watching that.
and that was
I just thought for sure like this guy is going to be popping an LV 500 or fishing deep on the bottom and like yo-yoing a bait up to get him to react, and then just to see you sitting there throwing a chatterbait like we would down here. I was like, oh, okay. Like I really know nothing about Maine fishing.
yeah. It actually, MLF came up here not last year, the year before, and I actually
Hmm.
got my boat. And I went out every day they fished and just kind of watched them. I brought my kids up on the boat. You know what I mean? We watched them, saw how they fished, what they did, how they moved around their boats, and it made a difference. We met a few anglers like Jason Christie, Kevin Van Dam. You know what I mean? He was. We talked to him, everything, got pictures with him.
Oh, sick.
Um, so it was an awesome experience. So yeah, so they came up here, fished Great Pond, China Lake, and Messalonsky. So these are well-known lakes. They produce fish. You know what I
Yeah, for
mean?
sure.
And as you can tell, they can compete. They could compete with Florida, but you have to grind. You know what I mean? They're
Hmm.
definitely not going to be 10, 12 pounders. If you did, it'd be like state record. But we definitely can get good size 8 pounders. On average, most of these fish can probably average about 5, 6 pounds. So
Yeah, man. I mean, you broke 100 in Maine. Like, there's nothing else to say about that. Like, you killed it. But man, you got kids? 2 kids? 3 kids? How many you got? 4.
everyone think.
Oh my.
How old do you guys think I am?
Oh, what a great game to play. I should start guessing everyone's age that comes on the show. I'm gonna say 41.
Oh, actually, yeah, 44.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. That's close. I would
yeah.
have never guessed 41 if you didn't tell me you had 4 kids.
Yeah, I think Greg was like he reminds me of a young something I can't remember that day he mentioned something. My wife's like, I wonder if he thinks I'm like in my 20s. Yeah, I'm old.
I went and bought some fishing gear today, and when I was checking out, the lady was like, "What, son? Would you like to open a credit card with us?" And I was like, "Oh no, thank you." And she was like, "Oh well, yeah, I know it might be like your first credit card." And I was like, "Excuse me, I'm 33." And she was like, "Oh,
Wow.
oh," and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Poor lady. So I'm with you there, man. I think that's a good thing when we get older. I think you want to be looking younger, not the other way
Yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah. I think you think more, especially in relation to fishing. You're not out there just slamming lures around you. You're actually analyzing everything. And I'm that type of person. I analyze everything, and
Mhm.
at the end of that I had when the scoreboard got shut off, and I was thinking to myself, I said, I don't want to be that person that wishes I made it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I
Mhm.
gotta, and it was super stressful. My adrenaline, I had to like close my eyes a couple times. You know what I mean? Just to recoup myself because it was a lot of pressure. It was a
It
lot of.
it was absolutely a lot of pressure, and, before you came on the show here, we were talking a little bit about, like, somebody has to move on and somebody doesn't, and, to be so close is so painful. Hindsight's always the worst thing we can do as anglers, but I feel like the guys that are really competitive, like, it's a necessary step. You have to look back on that day and what did I miss? What could I have done better? What would I have changed? And
Yeah.
have you taken the time to do that?
Yeah, so what happened was I remember how I told you having I didn't go back to my other spots that I probably knew I could catch fish, right?
Hmm.
So I had a good run to get back there, and the wind picked up. It was probably 15-mile-per-hour wind, so the wind changed dramatically. So I did some power fishing on the way, made some long casts and kind of railed on the move, pretty much speed railing. And I actually got a good hit on a couple times. They popped it, just being aggressive they were and at the time. And so I got to the first point, and I threw probably 6 7 casts, probably called out probably 5 or 6 16-inch fish. Okay, and
Hmm.
I caught the 17 and 3/4, and I was like, whoa, okay. Based on what I saw last and where it is right now, I'm up a quarter of an inch. Okay, so
Okay.
I was like, I need another fish. I got a 17-inch hanging in my bag. I know I can catch a bigger fish. So I moved along. I was like, yeah, I can't spend too much time burning this spot. So I'm gonna move on to the next spot. So I moved on, and another point, I moved out probably 12 15 feet. Thinking maybe they're in the grass. Didn't catch anything, and I was like, well, I caught a 21 or so on this other point. I got to get there. There's not much time left. Literally, I think 15 minutes, and I was
Hmm.
like, wow. Okay, so I got there. I think time I got there, I probably had 8 minutes on the clock. I was like, wow, this is a big 8 minutes. So I threw some casts on one side, backside, and then I threw on the opposite wind side, made a few. I was like, if he's there, he's being stubborn, or if anything's there, they're being stubborn. I don't care if it's an 18. I just need something bigger. You know what I mean? Quarter inch, half an inch. So it got down to 2 minutes. I had a decision in my back of my mind. I'm like, I need to throw over my shoulder. There's grass out there. I know. But I was like, I caught a fish over here though. I was like,
Hmm.
decision. I had one more cast. This is it. I made the cast towards shore. Nothing. Okay. I looked at the clock. I literally had 30 seconds. I cast the right. Boom. 18 inches. On the board. Got him on the board. Seriously. Got him on the board. Took the photo. 432.
Mm.
So there is my decision. Cast left, cast right. I go south or stay north.
Oh
Eh,
my gosh, man.
yeah. I mean,
Oh
I
my gosh.
have a photo of it, and I was like, oh my goodness, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. That's it, 2 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah, and if I reverse what I did, I would be going south to Tennessee. If I would have reversed my step,
yeah.
because yeah, it just took that reverse. That was it.
Oh my
But
gosh, man. That is
no, these fish, they 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 are. Sometimes there's a little luck. Sometimes there's, it's being in the right place at the right time. Throwing the right bait, which I had the right bait because they were, what I mean, you could tell. I mean, they were eating it for. I mean, I didn't want to give up on it. You know what I mean? I had a white chatter bait. They probably could have hit that too, but water was kind of, and my water was not clear right now. It's pretty murky. Hasn't settled. We've been getting a lot of wind with the rain and stuff like that. But yeah, that's 2 minutes. In my mind, it's gonna haunt me. but
ah.
but there are a lot more tournaments, and I
Mm-hmm.
and I and I you know what I mean. So yeah, yep.
Man, that.
But
Go ahead.
that's why they call it fishing, catching. Because if we
Yeah.
were talking about catching, it'd be a different. You know.
Yeah, that's right. That's that's totally right, man. And it it hurts uh
Uh,
so bad like when you're on like you're on them. I fished a tournament earlier this year on Toledo Bend, and I was on them, man. I just could not upgrade one 16-inch fish I had. I think I was 4 inches behind the guy that took first, and I had the 16.25, and I think my big fish was like a 20 something, and tournament ends, and my cousin comes over and finds me, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to keep fishing? Like we ain't got to fish in a while." And I was like, "Yeah, I only put up like 90 on Toledo," and it's 3 minutes after time, and I flipped to a tree that I had flipped to like 2 hours earlier, and I flip in there, my line just goes slack, and I cracked down, hit it. It's a 27.5 or 20.75, 23 quarters, and that would have given me big bass and like tied me for first. And that fish being 3 minutes late cost you, it's like, God, man, like the timing, the decisions you make throughout the day, like it all
it all, yeah.
becomes some number for us at the end of the day, which determines if you get paid, move through that round, whatever it is, man. And it stings.
You know what I mean? I could show you the fish. It's funny. I was like, wow. Yeah, I mean, you could see that. I don't know if it glares or not. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But you
Oh
can't
yeah.
see. Yeah, but yeah.
Huh. Man, so what
Oh,
do you got planned for this year, man? Are you gonna start getting into national events, or are you
yeah,
signed up for the June qualifier?
yeah. So I'm signing with the June, and my brother is too. His name is actually Chris Nichols, so he's gonna sign. He's signed up. I think Jason Gardner is in it too. So we got some Maine boys. I think I put a spark in their butt. So
I bet so.
I'm starting to get some people excited in KBBT. Believe me. So they're I think they want some of this glory. So they're gonna have to get through me though. So
That's right.
I mean, I'm starting to figure this out. So they're gonna have a battle. So
Yeah,
yeah.
man. Like, you can't have three main mans. Well, there's only one main man, and
Oh
that's
no.
that's Tim Spry.
Yeah, they're gonna have to prove themselves to be something else. I don't know.
Man, what I'm wondering is like the like pond or lake you grew up on. Is it? Can you not fish that? You said there's giants in there.
Okay, so actually, it does have a public access only by canoe and kayak, really.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think if you Google it, all our states on our state site will, explain all the accesses. You know what I mean? So, according to my brother, he says you can, but I haven't. And I mean, I'm definitely more into, a challenge, of course. I mean, if I wanted to throw up some KBF numbers, you know what I mean, for the monthly, then I might consider it. But I'm beating everyone right now, so
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah.
day right now. So, and the thing is, so the first when I put up that 102, um,
Mm-hmm.
I never had a identifier for KBF. Yeah, so right now I'm at 97 something. Yeah. And then my
Uh,
big fish yesterday, my lanyard, I can only reach so high, and I missed the I had it on the right side, the other identifier, and missed out on
mhm.
that too. So they're lucky.
No.
They're all lucky. So if somebody comes close to me, I'm going back. So
Yeah, man, you got to.
want to beat me in the KBF. So monthly, no way. I've caught a lot of fish, and I'm not. No, no. I was like, I got pictures to prove it, but I don't have an identifier.
Yeah, yeah, that's how that goes, man. So so you sign up for the June qualifier. You're
Yeah.
doing like monthlies. You do your local trails. You traveling at all, or I mean, it's got to be hard with 4 kids.
So, I mean, no, I mean, I have flexibility. So, my wife's really good, and bought me fishing. So, she'll let me fish anytime I want. I thought about fishing the KBF trail that Jason Gardner and Ken Wood are put on. So I might, I don't know. I'm just kind of debating that. But I'm in 3 boat leagues, uh, 4 KBF monthlies. I got KBAM. I got Slay Nation, and I have KBBT. So I'm fishing a lot. You know what I mean? And then in my
Hmm.
other spare time, I'll fish some practices and stuff like that, and try to get a hold of some of these other lakes. That I'm not super knowledgeable about. You know what I mean? Because it's hit or miss. I mean, some days I'll do really good there, and some days not. But I think I've improved a lot. I think I got it right now. So I think I can do something.
Yeah,
But
man.
I definitely like to go south. You know what I mean? Like Bass Nation stuff, and eventually I will. Eventually I'll probably move back to Florida when my kids grow up. So
Dang. Okay. Be out there with the
yeah,
Benettis and the
yeah.
Sherman Bishops and.
I want to catch some of those 10 and 12 pounds. Yeah, hammers. You know what I mean? I want to get my hold of one of those.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I don't blame you, man.
I don't like alligators and snakes, so I don't know. So
Oh well, if you're not a snake fan, then did it hurt as bad hearing about the 8 house when you saw where it is, knowing the
oh
amount of snakes?
yeah, when everyone started saying snakes and alligators, I'm like, okay, 22-hour drive to fish with snakes and alligators, and I'm gonna catch crappy fish. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. It doesn't sound like really good to me.
Man, I am so interested to see what those guys are going to do on a live event on. Now, I've watched some YouTube videos. I'm not going to say those are crappy fish, but they are hard to find, to locate.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't think there's going to be a plethora of,
yeah,
I mean, Siddiqui or when he fished it 3 years ago, I think he stuck a 21 something.
yeah.
So there's some good ones in there, but the guys who can find them and who can't, that's going to be real apparent, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I watched the YouTube video. I think yesterday, a guy kept catching bluegill. He just filled coolers up after coolers up, and I'm like, wow. And he was enjoying it, like it was fun. I'm like catching those little tiny fish. I was like, nah, I don't know if that's much fun to me. You know
Ah,
what
you can go ultralight. Fun on that
I mean?
ultralight gear.
Yeah, some
Some
2 pound.
2 pound test. Man, that's the way to. I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
Like that makes it feel like they're giants. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. You
No,
got to
but
have the right gear for the right job, man.
you know what I mean. But it definitely, I definitely wanted to go. I mean, no matter what, I don't care. I didn't care.
Sorry,
Probably.
sorry, Tim.
No problem.
Go ahead.
I definitely wanted to go, and I definitely wanted the challenge. You know what I mean? It definitely makes you a better angler, in the long run.
Mhm.
And it'd be great to talk to those guys because realistically, meeting new guys and talking, about fishing is always a great experience, in the long run. So definitely.
Absolutely, man. I mean, have you had someone that's been like your mentor, or have you and your brother just been like,
Yeah, so my brother and I, make phone calls back and forth here and there, and talk about fishing, I mean, I have a boat partner, you know, and we kind of learn from each other. But and then I have a few other guys, you know, what I mean, that I talk to and call, you know, and ask them, you know, hey, what are good backup baits, you know, what do you think, what do you think you're gonna hit this time of the year, you know, and
Hmm.
tell me, you know, I mean, you still got to throw them, you got to know where to throw them, you got to know how to throw them. I mean, you could fish, you know, you can have the best gear, the best everything, but you still have to know how to fish. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
man. I can. You can sit there and tell me what you were like. Hey, I'm throwing a chatterbait, and I'm not gonna throw it the way you were throwing it, man.
yeah,
And it's just different. Like you can help people all you want, but unless you, and I love hearing that you put in all this time on the water and you started having success because I think that is so important.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's the more, you know, what I mean, like this lake here. I mean, it's a good sized lake, and I mean, I think it's ranked like in the top 10 in the, you know, what I mean, the Northeast. So China Lake
Mhm.
is. And I put a lot of time in on this lake. I mean, it has a lot of variety. You know what I mean? It has rocks, it has grass, it has humps, it has, you know, smallmouth, largemouth. I mean, it has pretty much anything any other lake is going to offer in this area. So it gives you that mix. But it's definitely the deepest spot's 80 feet. So
Wow.
yeah. So and
Yeah,
people,
man.
you know, yeah,
That's great though. Like I love that you know are in so you're just fishing a ton, man, and that's a great way to learn. You know, I get lots of people that are like asking about joining up for tournaments or where should I be fishing or what should I be throwing, and you know, I'd certainly ask that of guys that I'm fishing with and that I know are putting time in. And you know, I love comparing notes and being like, well, this is working for me after the tournament. You know, shop talk, whatever.
yeah.
So many of those guys, I'm telling them like, you gotta you gotta go fish. There's
Yeah.
no quick fix to this.
Yeah. No, no, exactly. I mean, you could have your honey holes and everything like that. You know what I mean? They could produce a couple fish, but when it comes to winning tournaments, you got to have more than just a honey hole. You know what I mean? You got
Hmm.
to, I mean, these fish move. They just don't sit all the time in one spot. And they move and transition. They, you know what I mean? They can move 15 feet, 20 feet, you know, off their spots or around the lake, and they get moved by bass boats. They get, you know, dropped off at the other end of the lake. It's definitely a challenge, you know. And there's days that you could catch 90 inches, and there's days you could probably catch 40, you know, in a shorter period of time. But when it comes to 7 to 10 hours, you know, you gotta figure it out, you know,
Yeah.
how to catch the big, you know, and I've seen a lot of people catch big, and like, oh, I got to figure out this how to do this, and I think I'm on it right now. So I'll know Saturday. I get a bass boat tournament, so
My
a big
man, let me know how you do.
Smalley tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah, in a
man.
big Smalley lake, and I almost chose to go Sunday because I knew I could probably catch Smalley 17, 18 inches, but based
Hmm.
on, I mean, doing my research, tournament there the weekend before bass boat, um, there were 60 boats out there. Top weight was 22 pounds, so I'm like, 22 pounds isn't really. I mean, for 7 fish, it really isn't that big.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I think I'm gonna stick it out in China. You know, I'm gonna stick it out in my home lake and and grind it. You know what I mean? And I knew that I've already caught those big guys. You know, the week before, another week before, and I had a feeling they weren't just gonna be there. They ain't gonna hit it again. You know.
Right.
If they do, it's gonna block. And so I was like, I need to find new area, and that's what I was telling you guys. I just had to move and you know and take the risk. I mean, I could have went, you know, different directions, and this lake's good size, and I chose that direction and fished what I thought I knew, and it worked. So you know,
Yeah, it did work. Man,
the grass
Tim,
helps.
you had an awesome run, man. I enjoyed watching the numbers you're putting up. I enjoyed watching you fish on camera. I was blown away by what you did fishing out of Maine for some of the guys, you know, you were up against, and it wasn't like you got blown out, man. I mean, you were less than an
I was
inch away from making the eight house. I mean,
here.
very,
Yeah, I didn't care who I was fishing against. I didn't care if they were Texas, Florida. I'm going to compete. You know what I mean? If I have to, you know, fish faster, fish slower, you know what I mean, move more. You know what I mean? I was like, I can compete. I know I can. You know what I mean? And I just kept a positive attitude, and that's all it was, and tried to minimize your stress. And I mean, I think I compete with anyone.
Yeah, man, absolutely. If people want to find more Tim Spry, or do you have Instagram,
Yeah,
Facebook, YouTube?
yeah. So I have on Facebook, it's 207 Life, which
Okay.
207 are one area code in Maine. So
Mhm.
207 Life. And then Northeast underscore Yacker on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I hope to talk to you again in the future. And for real, let me know how you do in your bass boat tournament, man. Like,
Yeah.
super pleasure to watch you compete during this bracket run.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll send you a message, and I'll definitely look forward to June. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Definitely, I'd like to go live again. You know, it's fun. So, and June's gonna, you know what I mean? It's gonna be different. So, I mean, Lake June's
Oh
gonna
yeah.
change. You know, the water temperature is gonna be up there. These are gonna be high. So, and hopefully, I can still put up those numbers. And there's many more lakes. I know I can go to Great Pond, not catch smallies. You know, definitely I can go against John Warchol again. Smalley for Smalley.
The revenge matchup, man. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. But
Yeah, we'll do
Tim, man, have a
Smalley
great night.
Smalley.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah. Smalley on Smalley. Man, thank you for coming on. Have a great night, man. I appreciate your time, and we appreciate you fishing with KBBT.
Sounds great. Awesome. Appreciate it. Have a good
Later,
night.
man. Man, guys, thank you for watching the show. Tim Spry, what a dude. Awesome guy. It makes me want to go fish in Maine. Like, I don't know. Like, it was just awesome to watch him put up these 20-inch largemouths out of Maine, break 100 in Maine. I mean, for guys here in the South, I think every one of us was just astounded by that. And he knew he had it, man. I mean, he was a 16 seed and took out, I mean, a very accomplished angler, Matt Conant, and then beat Tim Gurley. And I mean, he was this close to taking out Mr. Warchol. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. This will be up on the podcast later. Thank you to all our sponsors. Guys, BK is out.